I am autistic. Sometimes, because of complicated circumstances that are very hard to explain, and even harder to understand if you have never directly experienced them, being autistic means that I cannot talk. It's well known that a lot of autistic people are nonverbal, but I don't think many people know that it is also possible for an autistic person to basically be stricken nonverbal. It's a complex thing, and I do not have the knowledge or the desire to discuss autism and its symptoms and what being autistic is like as a whole. But I do want to talk about what it is like for me, particularly what it is like to sometimes not have a voice. I don't always like talking to people. Rather, I only sometimes enjoy talking to people. Most of the time, I prefer to be quiet. This refers to online discussion with text only as well as physical conversations. Talking is hard for me. No, that's not true. I can talk for hours, and I have, to people I like and trust. But mostly I've talked to myself. I just say things, sometimes out loud, sometimes just in my head. Mental conversations, occasionally with me playing the parts of myself and someone else. A play I've created to think or just pass the time. I like talking, but I hate the social contracts that bind every single possible conversation. How does the other person feel? Should I tell them I don't care about what they're saying? How do I respond to this? Like I said, even with online conversations, these are concerns. I don't want to hurt people, I don't want to be off-putting, and I don't know the rules to obey to avoid such potential problems. Mostly because there are no rules that will always prevent upsetting or hurting people. Hell, sometimes people are upset even if the other person has done nothing wrong at all. It's a problem that's impossible to solve, but my brain won't accept that. I avoid talking to people. I avoid opening up about myself. Every once in a while, after a lot of time and effort on the part of the other person, I can be myself. I can be, if not unrestrained, at least a lot closer to it than I am with the majority of everybody else. But that doesn't happen often, and even when it does, it can scare me. Knowing how to act is hard, at least for me. What can make my life even more difficult is that I can sometimes be unable to talk. Stress, a meltdown, my mind essentially being unable to keep up or handle what's been going on, these things lead me to being frozen. I am aware, but I cannot move, or I can only move a little. I know that people are around, I can hear them and understand them, but I cannot respond, cannot even tell them that I love them. Maybe I can move my hands some, to signify that I am not unconscious. That only barely helps. The other person is usually shocked, scared, confused. Not hard to see why. I don't wake up this way. I was fine half an hour ago. So why can't I do it now? Why can't I talk? A Silent Voice, or Koe no Katachi, is one of my favorite movies. Not one of my favorite anime movies, it's plain one of my favorite movies, period. Side note, I hate when people talk about animated movies as if they have to be separated, or it's surprising that they can be as emotional or touching as a live action movie. It's all art. Anyways, the movie makes me cry. Always. In it, there is a deaf girl named Shoko. She communicates primarily through sign language or writing. When she's in elementary school, none of the other kids know sign language, so no one can sign with her. That leaves writing to communicate, which is time-consuming and requires more effort than just opening one's mouth. So the other kids eventually stop doing it. What was a novelty at first became a hassle. Without regard for her feelings, they do things the easier way and simply talk to her less. It wasn't like they were ignoring her, so it's not like they did anything bad, right? Right. When it's hard, it's okay to bail out. What do you ever owe another person anyways? You don't have to be their friend. You don't have to care about them. There are plenty of other people that can care. Years later, when Shoya, a classmate who had mercilessly teased Shoko in elementary school, learned sign language, it is monumental. He doesn't gain anything from learning, only the ability to sign, which for most people isn't useful. But he learns for Shoko, so he can communicate with her, not just because he cares about her or because he feels guilty for bullying her. He learns it because he knows, has learned, that sign language is sometimes necessary to communicate with another person, and that if he knows it, it will allow people who speak through sign language to converse with him freely. They don't have to put in extra effort just to talk. Shoya comes to this understanding and this willingness to do something that may help others because of his social isolation following his teasing of Shoko. In school, in life, he never looks people in the eye. He doesn't deserve to. He is not on the level of everyone else. There is something wrong with him, and he must remember his place. Only through the insistence of his friends and his eventual acceptance that there is nothing wrong with him, just as there is nothing wrong with Shoko, that her being deaf does not make her less deserving of happiness or any less or worse of a person, is he able to stop hating himself and look at people, see himself on the same level as them. He sees people and himself as they are. A silent voice means a lot to me. It makes me re-examine my life, reminds me to try hard, to forgive myself, and to remember that we are all people, that being disabled doesn't make a person any less human, that not being disabled doesn't mean that a person is better or struggles less. Life is hard, life is struggling, but we have to keep at it and trust those we can. I have been Shoko, afraid of bothering others, ashamed that I have put them out. I don't ever want people to have to make any kind of effort for me, even if they are completely willing to do so, and I thus avoid situations and conversations that may greatly benefit me, or make me happy, or allow me to gain a new friend. It's hard to know me. It's hard for me to express myself. It's hard. I have been Shoya, keeping my head lowered because I felt that I didn't deserve to look up. When I hurt people so easily, when my circumstances can cause so much confusion and dismay, how can I want to know people? How can I be okay with someday eventually hurting them in some way? When it's my fault, why should I let other people get drawn in and hurt? When I can't help it. I am often good at pattern recognition, and I can often understand thoughts and feelings very well. But when things get too tough for me, I can lose who I am. I can lose my voice. It takes a lot for people to understand that, even without a sound, my voice is still there, even if they can't hear it. I am so glad there are people who know that.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I don't know if everything I said in this video made sense, but I wanted to express my feelings while also sending a very important message. That we all deserve love, even if we don't think we do. And if we keep trying, we will find it, eventually. So keep trying. And keep rocking, everyone.